The next presenter is Leo Bastidas, and he's presenting Host Hunting on a Budget.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I just started speaking here at conferences this year. I'm kind of nervous, actually, I'll be honest, just because so many people that I admire and look up to. And I posted on Twitter, like, man, I'm kind of nervous. You know, there's a lot of people, first time back in 15 years, and they're like, oh, we'll give you a hug. So I want to give my consent. Whoever wants to give me a hug, I accept blanket consent form. I accept all hugs that want to be given. That'll be awesome, man. So I can use one, and so other people can use one, man. So yes, hugs are welcome in my personal space. Whenever you want, man. You want to come on up? Yeah, man. I need it, man. So yes, sir, man. Let's go, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. So I'm glad to be back. A lot of memories came back. I got out the Army 2 years ago. I got pretty effed up. So now I'm out in the private sector. I would have stayed in 30 years. I'll be honest, if I could. But so that goes into my first slide. Who am I? I'm nobody special. Just a little bit common sense, a little bit initiative. When I was in the big Army, the traditional Army, I had questions, and that wasn't always allowed to ask questions. Just do what I say, not what I do, type of stuff. But that's where I learned my forensics with law enforcement. That's where I did my Linux sysadmin stuff. I did my incident response before there was a MOS or a specialty. But then I joined special operations, and it was the best time of my life. It was awesome. Let's see. And now I work for a Japanese company, and yeah, I do threat hunting for my day job. At night, I actually contribute for the last 2 years now for OpenSOC. It's a blue team CTF. We were actually a black badge at DEF CON this year, a black badge event. That was pretty cool. We're part of Blue Team Village, and it was awesome. It's a group of us. Most of us are based out of Austin. I live in Austin, but we're spread throughout the U.S. OpenSOC.io, if you want to look up at our projects. We use open source tools to do blue team simulations. That's what we do for fun, and we love it. It's awesome. We build scenarios, and we have people find breadcrumbs. But today, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about OpenSOC, OpenSOC.io. But we're going to talk about stand-up. So I got out the Army 2 years ago. I was real niche. I profiled groups in West Africa. I'm a French speaker. So my whole job was to burn French-speaking actors or groups. That was my whole job. And so this company told me, okay, can you stand up a 300 platform for our company, Global 500? And I'm like, sure. How hard could it be? Yeah, it's very freaking hard. But so I go in. You have no money to stand up the platform. So what can you do if you have no money? You can beg. You can beg them, right? You can be like, please give me some money and justify it somehow. You can beg management, your 5 managers, can I have some money so I can stand up a security posture that's acceptable? And so you can go that route, or you can wait for Brian Krebs to call up your company and then get on the earnings call or something, and they're like, oh, crap, do you know about this? And then all of a sudden, you have unlimited funds to get whatever you want stood up. So you can wait for Brian Krebs, or you can use free or open source tools, and that's what I'm going to talk about, and that's what I did. You can use Sysmon by SysInternal. Sysmon is an enrichment platform for Windows logs, and it's free. It's not open source, but it's free. You can use Elk Stack to stand up your SIM, right? Elk Stack, Elastic, Logstash, Kibana, and a lot of SIM platforms, they use Elk Stack in the back end, but they have their own front end, right? You can use OS queries, awesome, developed by Facebook. TrailBits did some stuff on their forking, and you can use GER or you can use Velociraptor. If you don't know about Velociraptor, you might want to check that out. It's people that spinned off GER and it's based on GER. It's pretty dope. There's Moloch. Anybody that does full packet captures knows the retention is horrible, right? We don't have the money for the full PCAPs. Even 2 weeks is real expensive. Mala gives you the metadata of the packet capture of the network traffic. So that's very good. It's something you want to look at, and it's pretty easy for level 1, level 2 analysts to use Mala because it's a nice GUI web browser. There's Waza with OSSec. That's more for like the Linux, Mac systems. There's Snort, open source firewall, Suricata, Greylog, open source SIM, pfSense, open source firewall. So that's what I'm working with. So Sysmon, what is Sysmon? So anybody that's done any kind of forensics on a Windows system, the native window logs, there's a lot to be desired. It's horrible. It's hard to make what's going on. You don't get all the different logging that you could get. It's not in the basic native logs out the box. You have to turn on audit logging. You have to try to figure out which logs you want to turn on or which you want to turn off. Sysmon makes that very easy. They have about 18 events. You can and it's simple blacklist, whitelist filtering in a flat text file, config file. It's very easy. I love Sysmon. I did it in the Army, and I did it for, in the private sector. The return on investment is quick, and I love it. My management loved it. And there was a question recently, so what if you have an EDR product? Do you still need Sysmon, a free enrichment tool for Windows logging? Yes, EDR was not going to catch everything. Sysmon can help enrich your EDR, especially if you have a central location collector that can accept logging from different sources, from different data sources. So it's still valuable to deploy Sysmon if you can, because you can feed that into your EDR platform. And your EDR platform, whatever it is not going to capture everything, and you can fill in the gaps with Sysmon. So I went through that recently. Who invented Sysmon, right? Mark Rusanovich. He's an Azure CTO. He's a famous Microsoft fellow. He has sysinternals. They bought him out. They brought him into Microsoft, right? And he had a partner, Thomas Grainer. They're kernel hackers, right? Hook up with the API, Windows APIs, and he's always updating, but it's not officially supported by Microsoft. So you have to know that it's going to be a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep. It might break stuff, and I'll go into that at best practices and stuff I learned that I wish I would have known beforehand. So hopefully somebody can learn. If you are going to deploy Sysmon and enrich your Windows login, which DoD, right, 95% of our systems was Windows, XP, 7, servers. So it was created in 96, believe it or not. All right, so this is my scenario. This is my use case. I show up to a brand new organization. I'm there for the first 100 days. I want to make an impact. I want to help the team. I was brought in to stand up the threat hunting platform, but I go in and I notice data gaps. So I get the lay of the land. I start getting, visibility and creating analytics. And I was like, all right, let's stand up this threat hunting platform. But I know there's no endpoint visibility. There's no EDR. There's no audit logging or enhanced logging turned on. I'm like, crap, how am I going to threat hunt when there's a big old gap on the endpoint? We had AV, but the AV was not at all. It was a black box. I can't look into it and look at the matrix and seeing what they're alerting on and how they're doing it. They're saying this magic AI, machine learning. It's pretty much signature-based, a special if and then statement. That's pretty much what it is. And we can't use that for incident response. We can see it when it gets alerted, but we can't use it for investigators, for level 1, level 2 SOC analysts. So that's where Sysmon came in. I was like, crap, I have experience deploying Sysmon. That's a good, quick return on investment, as long as I get buy-in. So that's what I did. I missed the vulnerability. My organization was 80% Windows, 19% Linux, 1% Mac. I'm like the 1% Mac, by the way. So right there I was like, crap, no endpoint visibility. I deployed Sysmon before to a big organization, 50,000 endpoints. Let's do Sysmon, let's do it. Small InfoSec team, 50,000 endpoints, about 5.5, 6 InfoSec people in this organization. So this organization is like real DoD vibe. So I knew how to maneuver, real conservative. I can't walk in like this in the office. I had to wear a suit. I'm a remote user now, thank God. But because this is how I showed up, and they looked at me and they're like, "That's too casual." I'm like, "Hey, I'm not a stickler, but that's too casual." I was like, "What do you mean? This is me dressed up." But yeah. So real. Think of that way. Had 5 different managers, different organizations, old school. They don't believe in the cloud. So it was that type of environment. I had to get buy-in from them. So that's what I'm up against. And different management are lobbying for political power because we're not all under one organization, but we are all under one company. So that's my background there. So what is Sysmon? Sysmon is an enhancement or enrichment tool for native window logging. Like I said, and this is going to be my second question. So there's example is process recreation. There's a log event ID in Windows for log creation. Does anybody know that event ID for Windows log process creation? Sorry, process creation. Does anybody know the event ID in Windows? What is it? Nope. Close. Anybody know? Yes, sir? Yes. You get the alpha. Don't hack nobody at the conference, please. You can pack a capture with this. It's pretty cool, yeah. So it's 4688. So there's 4688. Sysmon for process creation is event ID 1. They don't capture the same thing, but the basic premise is there. They both capture process creation, but 4688 captures some information from the AD environment. Sysmon doesn't, and vice versa. There's some stuff Sysmon captures for process creation, and native logging doesn't. So Sysmon enhances your Windows login, and it's great, especially is there any forensic analysts that actually do timeline events on Excel or some type of timeline? Show of hands, who do that? Who does that? Yeah. So when you do a timeline analysis, Excel is the number 1 tool in the forensics investigation, next to Google, right? And when you do a timeline and you're looking at the Windows event logs, you're like, what the heck is going on here? It's really hard to decipher. Sysmon makes that so easy. And you get a lot more processes. Does anybody know the Windows event log ID? So somebody clears the Windows, the security events. What's the ID number for that? Does anybody know that? You guys should be looking for this. In your SIM platform, if somebody clears the event security logs, it's going to actually bring up another event for actually telling you the security logs got cleared. Does anybody know the ID for that? Yeah, it's 1102. I got something for you later. Come see me afterwards. 1102. So when that security log gets cleared out, Sysmon is still there. It's not part of basic native logging. It's stored somewhere else. So that's another thing for Sysmon. It's great. They do. You can look at the command line arguments, and the command line. You can see what the attacker was doing in the command line and what they're using. You can see network connections. That's great. Network connections for the processes. That's something you really want to see. And it generates events early in the boot process. I can't say enough good things about Sysmon. And now with the latest update, they're actually logging DNS events. That's a whole other discussion. Anybody ever try to do some DNS logging? It's horrible, right? And so now Sysmon's doing that, but the same use case. You're gonna get so many events, so many alerts. It's gonna take a lot of maintenance. Swift on Security had it for 2 weeks before anybody else had it, right? Doing the beta, and after 2 weeks, her baseline was still not good enough for production. So and she's like the number 1 Sysmon user, right? Swift on Security, follow her on Twitter. Okay, so here's one thing. So I got to the environment. I'm trying to get buy-in from management. I was like, heck, what do I do? They're real conservative. And all of a sudden, I see my opportunity. I see a malicious beacon. That was it. I didn't see a malicious beacon going outbound to some type of C2 server, and that was it. We have, a SIM, real expensive SIM platform, but no endpoint visibility. So what can I do as a analyst, Intel guy? What can I do? I deploy Sysmon to these malicious beacons, to the workstations that are doing this malicious beaconing. I deploy it with PowerShell to like 10 workstations, and I query with PowerShell against the Sysmon events. Bam, I'm able to capture commodity malware. Nobody cares about commodity malware except the organization. EDR is not going to catch it. They don't care about commodity malware. Big vendors, they don't care about it. It's not worth their time. But I'm going to get buy-in from management because I'm going to sell this to management. Like, look, I can capture C2 events going on outbound, and these 10 workstations are going to malicious IPs. Look, Sysmon caught that. Bam, I got my buy-in from different IT ops, DevOps, engineering. Bam, I show them how I did it, and you can, a quick script. And I noticed that a Microsoft executable is invoking PowerShell. So that's what this is. And this is some quick, dirty PowerShell script. I'm not a PowerShell guru at all, but if I'm able to do a script to look at the logging of Sysmon or any event log on Windows, you guys and you people can actually do it if I can do it, because I'm not advanced at all in PowerShell. And that was just my script that I query against Sysmon logs after I deploy them to the 10 workstations. When is it needed? When is Sysmon needed? When will you want to deploy Sysmon to your environment? When you want to enhance logging? When you're struggling with endpoint visibility? Sysmon is used for like routine logging. Want to find hopefully you can find the attack vector with Sysmon. That's very good. You can improve your time and incident response. That's when you want to deploy. If it's taking you 2 days to figure out, do an initial triage of an incident response, that's when you want to deploy Sysmon. It can help with lateral movement. It can help with a lot of areas. Where is it Sysmon deployed? Sysmon is only Windows. It's only deployed on Windows systems. If you want to do Mac and Linux systems, you can go and look at OSSec and OS Query. You can deploy it with servers. And what you're going to get if you want to deploy the servers, is it going to take up a lot of CPU cycles? Is it going to hold up my system? Is it going to bog down my system? It might. It depends. This last update on Sysmon actually was leaking memory, and you had to wait for the next update. So make sure you have a dev test environment to deploy Sysmon when you do an update. Let's see. So that's where the logs are maintained in the Sysmon operational log files, and standard is 65 megabytes. You can move it up as 200 megabytes. You can do whatever you want. You can adjust the size limit, and it's a FIFO, first in, first out logging mechanism. So it's going to keep rotating out to the requirements that you want to. So you want to raise the logging requirements to 200 megabytes. But think about, you're going to have to do some math. If there's like 20K systems, 50K systems, and they're all having about 2 weeks or 3 weeks of logging from Sysmon, about 200 megabytes, it's going to add up. So that's something you have to take into consideration. And if I'm talking too fast, or if anybody got any questions, please just raise your hand in the middle. I do not mind. So the question is, do you deploy as a service? You do. It's a Windows driver, and it's not an agent. There's not a little icon on the bottom right of your Windows system, but it is a service. It gets spanned up as a service. It can get shut down as a service. It auto runs as a service, and you actually deploy a driver, a real small Windows driver, into the Windows system. So hopefully everybody got that question. He asked, is it a service? Yes, it's not an agent because my employment would not let me deploy any kind of agents. That's the first thing they ask. Is it an agent? Is it another agent on the system? No, it's a driver and a service, like anything else on a Windows system. Okay, so why is it needed? It's a free alternative to EDR. It's not a replacement to an EDR tool. Oh, man. Okay. This told me I got 10 minutes. Okay. It's not going to replace EDR. It's not going to replace AV. It's going to give you a retrospective on an incident on logging. It's going to take about 15 minutes to update. So it's not a live query against the system. It's a retroactive. Just keep that in mind. And a lot of the research was done by these people, Switch on Security. You might want to follow everybody on here. Robert Rodriguez, Cyber War Dog, awesome threat hunter, leading the field in threat hunting. Switch on Security, she's the main person, for Sysmon and Windows security in general. She's awesome. Jessica Payne changed my life. She used to be in the Windows Defender team. I'm not sure what team she's on now in Microsoft, but her monitoring what matters changed my life, like literally. Eric Cupiano from Recon InfoSec and OpenSock, he's taught me a lot. And Olaf does a lot of advanced queries against Sysmon and Splunk. So Olaf is another person you might want to follow. And these slides are on my blog, cybergopsyops.com. So how is it deployed, right? Well, you can deploy it to GPO, and that's what I did. I needed something quick. SCCM administrators couldn't deploy it, so I'm like, look, I can deploy it to GPO, and that's what I did. I deployed to GPO, and the only thing about deploying to GPO, you might not get the matrix of how many endpoints actually have Sysmon. So if you do SCCM in the Windows environment, you get that metrics from that IT ops love their metrics of how many endpoints has so-and-so packages. So that's one advantage of SCCM. GPO, it can get done right away. You can use other automation tools, PXExec, PowerShell, Chocolatey, whatever your deployment platform is, you can deploy it. Just create a package. Here's, it's too small. Here's the example layout, and that's what I mirrored. I use a Windows event collector, and I set up a subscription forwarder on each endpoint, and they're sending their native any kind of login on Windows platform, it's send it to the Windows event collector. So all it is subscription through GPO, turn on Windows event forwarding, WEF, and send it to a server 2008, 2016, 2019 Windows server, and that will act as your window collector. And from your collector, gathering 50K endpoints, you can forward it to Splunk, Graylog, Elkstat. You can deploy it to any SIM, but you are going to have a collector that pulls the subscriptions from the different endpoints. So just keep that in mind. This is what I used. I used a server 2016, server 4 as a window collector. We deployed Sysmon through GPO. We tried SCCM, but for whatever reason, the package was failing. Sir? So it's a cat and mouse game. Yes, it's a cat and mouse game. Follow Carlos Perez, Dark Operator. He does some advanced stuff with Spectre Ops. Oh, no, Trusted Sec, sorry. He does some advanced training on Sysmon. He knows how to attack Sysmon. It's a cat and mouse game. It can be turned off. It can be attacked. You can actually log into it. And with WS Man, it's a cat and mouse game. And even Mark Russinovich, the creator of Sysmon, he says it's not secure. So you're going to have have a backup means of having process stop and create, have a alternate backup plan but yeah, it could be attacked very easily. So he was asking, can it be attacked or like malicious software? Yes, it's very easy to attack Sysmon. So this is how I created the web server, the Windows Event Collector. I configured WinRM. I made sure it had access to the security logs. I created a GPO event forwarding policy in GPO, and that was it. Sysmon was deployed through GPO. It was that easy. And make sure you have some type of file share or a batch script, so that way it can pull the Sysmon executable and the drivers and the service. It can deploy to the different endpoints. So make sure you're pulling that Sysmon from a central location. You can create elk stack instead of, so if you don't have a SIM platform, you can create elk stack, and that's what we did. There's a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep, but we're trying to stand up a 300 platform, so we use the elk stack. And for Windows, to pushing the logs in Windows through an elk stack, we use WinLogBeat. So I'm going to talk real quick about OS Query. I got a few minutes here. So OS Query is a little bit different from Sysmon. So with Sysmon and OS Query, you have an ad hoc makeshift EDR platform, really. You just got to get a central location of where you want to get all your analytics from. But it's pretty good if you have no money. Sysmon and OS Query. And OS Query, you can actively query endpoints and get like the running processes. You don't have to remote into each workstation. You can get active information from each endpoint with OS Query. It's pretty great. It's actively maintained by Facebook and a few contributors. And it's cross-platform, Windows, Linux, and Macs. So OS Query is awesome. It's open source, so that's pretty great. And there is a front end called Collide. Oh, I'm not wearing the shirt. There's a front end to make it real easy, but OS Query natively is for using the command line. But you can have a Collide front end as well. Make it a nice little GUI, but you can use it as a file integrity monitor. You can use it to see what's running on the system. You can query against systems, running processes. You can do some threat hunting with OS Query and Sysmon, and that's what we use in our environment, and it's great, you know. So what would have done differently after I deployed to 50K workstations? What did I learn from that? Well, Sysmon config file is a simple flat text file, and it's a config with a simple blacklist, whitelist. What do you want stood up? What do you want to capture? What don't you want to capture? I wish originally that was source controlled. My God, that would have helped out a lot. Instead of just having a text file on the desktop or in the SharePoint or something like that, and somebody updates, you don't know what's being updated. Source control will help with that, especially when you have different engineers working on the config file. So you definitely want to source control your config somehow to annotate changes for every update that's done. What else did I learn? Well, have different configurations for endpoints, for users, servers, and domain controllers. You don't want to capture the same thing from a DC that you do from a remote user. You want to capture different logins, different actions. So you want to keep different config files. So I have about 6 config files in my environment. I have 3 test and 3 production. Users, domain controllers, and servers, all different captures. Have a test group for every domain, for every department, because you can get really advanced in your logging if you're capturing a certain thing for finance versus IT ops. And supplement with audit logging. Turn on your firewall logs. Turn on your PowerShell scripting. Don't just use Sysmon. That's it. It's 100% silver bullet. No, have audit logging turned on. Look up like Planner enhanced audit logging, and supplement that with Sysmon and vice versa. Does EDR take over responsibilities of Sysmon? I talked about that. They supplement each other. They're companions. And a great resource is Roberto Rodriguez's OSM MITRE map, and it'll tell you what log maps to what MITRE technique. Will you be my friends? So I'm telling me time's up. So any questions? Sir? Yes, I am. Oh, the forwarders is a subscription on the endpoint. I'm using event collectors to capture them. And then from the event collectors, I'm sending them up to Elk Stack. Yeah, so we had to do a lot. We got multiple. Let's talk afterwards. Okay? I think time's up. Sorry. Come talk to me.